The Lizzie Borden House is one of the most haunted places in America. On August 4th, 1892, Andrew and Abby Borden were brutally murdered in their home, and their daughter Lizzie was acquitted of their murders. The case remains unsolved to this day, and many believe that the ghosts of the victims still haunt the house. Over the years, countless people have reported paranormal activity at the Lizzie Borden House. Guests have seen the ghosts of Andrew and Abby, as well as the ghost of Lizzie herself. Some have heard strange noises, felt cold spots, and even been touched by unseen hands. One of the most common sightings is the ghost of Abby Borden. She is often seen wandering the second-floor hallway and guest room where she was murdered. Some guests have reported feeling her presence in bed with them, or waking up to find her standing at the foot of their bed. Another common sighting is the ghost of Lizzie Borden. She is often seen walking up and down the stairs, or standing in the doorway of her bedroom. Some guests have even reported feeling her anger and resentment. In addition to the ghosts of Andrew, Abby, and Lizzie, there have also been reports of other paranormal activity at the Lizzie Borden House. Some guests have seen the ghosts of 2 children who were murdered in a neighboring house in 1848. Others have heard the sound of children playing in the attic, or seen the shadows of children moving through the hallways. The Lizzie Borden House is also said to be haunted by a number of other spirits, including a former maid who was hanged for stealing from the Bordens, and a man who was murdered in the barn many years ago. One of the most famous ghost stories associated with the Lizzie Borden House is the story of the Blue Lady. The Blue Lady is the ghost of a young woman who is said to have been murdered in the house many years ago. She is often seen wearing a blue dress, and her ghost is said to be very active in the house, especially at night. Another famous ghost story is the story of the Red Man. The Red Man is the ghost of a man who is said to have been murdered in the house's barn. He is often seen wearing a red shirt, and his ghost is said to be very angry and violent. The Lizzie Borden House is a popular tourist destination, and many people come to the house hoping to experience some of the paranormal activity that has been reported there. While there is no guarantee that you will see a ghost if you visit the Lizzie Borden House, there is no doubt that the house has a dark and mysterious history. Here is a story about one person's experience with the ghosts of the Lizzie Borden House. The ghostly encounter. Sarah had always been fascinated by the Lizzie Borden House. She had read all the books and watched all the documentaries, and she was determined to visit the house one day. Finally, her dream came true. She and her husband were staying in Fall River for a weekend getaway, and they decided to take a tour of the Lizzie Borden House. The tour was very informative, and Sarah was really enjoying herself. But as they entered the second-floor hallway, she felt a chill run down her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The tour guide continued to tell the story of the murders, and Sarah tried to focus on what he was saying, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was someone else in the hallway with them. Suddenly, Sarah saw a figure out of the corner of her eye. She turned her head, but there was no one there. She blinked, and the figure was gone. Sarah wondered if she had imagined it, but her husband had seen it too. He gave her a worried look, and they both continued on with the tour. But Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that she was being followed. She kept glancing over her shoulder, but she never saw the figure again. When the tour was over, Sarah and her husband were relieved to leave the house. But as they walked away, Sarah couldn't help but feel like she was being watched one last time. Sarah and her husband never went back to the Lizzie Borden house, but they will never forget their ghostly encounter.